Hi, welcome to another video from Cardboard East. My name's Jay. I play Asian board games and share what I find with all of you. Today, I'm going to be sharing you my impressions of Rainforest City, the latest game from Singapore publisher Origame. Spoiler alert, I think it's their best game. Now, if you'd like to see how to play this game and see the solo variant, please check out our previous video where I talk about that and you can see how I play it and how I rocked it right off the bat. Go Jay! But we're here to talk about Rainforest City. If you don't know this publisher, Origame is a Singaporean publisher, and they really specialize in influencing or integrating Singapore culture into the game mechanics. And out of all the publishers I've seen trying to do this, they do it better than anyone else. And I think that this is their best game. I think it's definitely the most strategic game, definitely the heaviest of their games, and maybe that's why I like it. But I think it's their best game so far, and I think this game is something that you should definitely look out for, especially if you go to Essen, if they're going to Essen this year. I think they're going to Essen. Doesn't everybody go to Essen? Approachability. The box says that it's for ages 8 and up, and I think that if you have an 8-year-old who can kind of stay at the table and stay focused at what's happening, then yeah, I think the 8-year-old can do it, and you can also help them out. This plays from 1 to 4. I don't see a problem with those player counts. It plays pretty much the same. If you ask me, 3 to 4 players is probably the best way to play this game, although I really like the 2-player variant. I say variant, but it's not really, it could just play 2 players. I don't know why I said variant. Time. This game says it's 30 minutes. I gotta say that's about right. I think that you could, like a 3 or 4 player game, you could experience some AP, but not really that much. And I think that it should fall like 30 to 40 minutes. So in and out really quickly. You might hear some grunting in the background. That's my wife. She's exercising. Just grunting and exercising. Love my wife. And let's go to things that I like about this game. Well, to do that, let's talk really quickly that on your turn, you're going to have 12 turns. Or in this game, you're going to have 12 turns. No matter what, whether you play at the 2, 3, or 4 player count. At the 2-player count, you're going to be 6 rounds, and so you're going to have a turn like each 6 rounds. So in the 3-player game, you have 4 rounds. In the 4-player game, you have 3 rounds. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because the more rounds there are, so like in a 2-player game versus the 4-player game, you're going to be drafting 2 cards more often, which means that you're going to have a little bit more control into how you build your environment. And not only that, but your environment should be a lot bigger in a 2-player game. Also, I found that if there is AP, if someone does struggle with AP, then they're going to struggle with having 2 cards. Because usually when you have to draft one of the 2, like then you're just placing 1 card, and that's... I've commonly seen that players who have 1 card can finish the turn rather quickly, and the player who has 2 is still trying to figure things out. So I do think that it'll be a little bit more AP prone at the lower player counts, but you will have more control over that. And I find that at the higher player counts, when you get to level 4, like it becomes quite difficult, and you're going to have more negative points from your compost heap. Going back to how does that relate to how I like the game? Well, I find the most fascinating thing I like about this game is that you have to build a sustainable environment. So yes, you have to make sure one habitat has a lot of plants. There's going to give you 1 point each. Then you need herbivores, and there's going to give you 2 points each. But you have to have enough plants to feed the herbivore. And at the very top, you're going to have the carnivores who need the herbivores to eat the plants. And if you have like lots of 1s and lots of 3s and no 2s, well then all those carnivores and all those points are just gone. So you need to be able to build that environment. And what's interesting is that you're kind of tossed and turned between, well, I need more flora and fauna to fulfill my environment, but at the same time you need more of an environment, so you're going to need terrain cards. And I find that push and pull rather interesting. And not only do you need like more of these cards, but you need to arrange them in a way to where no matter what flora and fauna card you have, they're going to fit somewhere in there, because if they don't fit, they're going to add and rack up negative points in your compost heap, and nobody wants that. So I do like that push and pull there. I really think it's quite simple, and I really love that this could have just been random animals, but no, they chose all these plants, all this flora and fauna are native to Singapore, and I think that's really cool. They didn't have to do that, but they did, and I think that shows that this publisher really went forth that extra mile to make it happen. And that's what I really like about this game. What I don't like are the objective cards. I found that at the 2-player count, you're going to have the most control at 2 players, and you should be able to reach all 3 of these. If you don't, then your opponent gets 30 points and they're obviously going to win. The problem is that with the 2 players, you should be able to get all of them, and if you don't, you will lose. If your opponent gets all 3, they will win, just because these give so many points. And I don't really like that at the 2-player level. And then also, if both of you get all 3, well, then it's only like maybe 6 points difference, and I feel like it doesn't really add that much. I find the regular puzzle of this to be more than enough for the 2-player count, especially when you add like the strategy of the houses and how the houses are there. Now, you can also hate draft and force your opponent to get houses, and that'll kill things off their environment. That can be kind of fun, but usually you're just kind of focused into just doing your own thing. So the objective cards at the 2-player count don't really work for me. I do say that they work for, I think, the 3-player counts and the 4-player counts. That becomes a little bit more fun, a little bit more dynamic. The good thing about these, though, is that it gives you some direction to do as you're playing the game, especially like in a 2 or 3-player. Maybe if you're new to the game, this will kind of give you an idea of like, oh, I gotta play for this objective, and it gives me something to do. And it makes you balance a little bit more, so it's a little bit harder. But overall, like, I don't find them necessary for the 2-player game. And when I play the 2-player game with my wife, who likes this game, we don't play with the objective card, because the regular puzzle itself is more than enough. That's what I didn't like. Also, a few nitpicks here and there is that while this is cool, I like cards that kind of like, have a little picture on them, like, yay, it's cute. I mean, it's the same art that's on the cover. And I know their art is expensive. I know it's expensive. But at the same time, like, it can be difficult. My trick is that these cards are darker, and so when you flip it over, like, there's this dark green here, and that helps me remember. And like, this has a lot of light green, and this is light green, and that helps me remember. And like, I just wish I didn't have to do that. I think like he could have had like a little icon here on the top to show you like, oh, that's what this card is, or just have a completely different artwork on the back. I kind of would prefer that. Other than that, like, I don't know. Like, another cool thing is that like all these tokens, all of these were already pre-punched and in a bag, so you don't have to do that. That's amazing. This is done by a Japanese manufacturer who specializes in white cardboard, so you get this nice, clean look. Unfortunately, it also means you get like this dandruff effects, and so you have like these little white, kind of like dandruff flakes off of these. Now that only happens like if, after the first like game or 2 or 3, but other than that, you should be fine. This is another thing that I don't like, is that there's a lot of friction when you put all of these tokens like in one giant bowl. So you might be playing, oh, I do this, I need this and this, and you spend like maybe like 30 seconds hunting for them, and then you might break out of your flow state and not know like what you were doing. So I don't recommend that you need to do it, but I think the game is better if you separate everything out. If you insist on having everything in a big pile, that's fine. I do strongly recommend that you separate the 3s out, though, because hunting for a 3 can be quite frustrating, and that can eat up a lot of time. That I think kind of destroys the flow of the game. Things I saw that other people liked and didn't like. I saw people have trouble with the objective cards, and to be fair, like, yeah, like sometimes the way it's worded, it's a little bit confusing. Like, there's 2 or more carnivores in one habitat, and it has a picture of dolphins. Like, does that mean it's only dolphins? Can it be the other one? So there's a little bit of, I was gonna say mohu in chat, but that's Chinese, but I don't know how do you say that? Unclear in English. It's a little bit unclear, and I would like a little bit more specificity, clarity in the objective cards. Other thing they had trouble with are the flora and fauna cards. In the rule book, it's a little bit confusing when you read the text of how to play. You can watch like these how-to videos out there that are really good, excellent how-to videos out there. But when you play the game, it's pretty intuitive of how these work. Yes, you could rotate them anyway, and they land on there. Oh, green on green, blue on blue. If it doesn't match the environment, it goes to your compost heap. If it goes to a place that doesn't exist, it goes to the compost heap. If it goes to a place that has to replace something else, well, then the old goes to the compost heap and the new takes its place. And if those things don't match, and then like there's a lot of if and thens, and it can be kind of confusing for people. But I think that after they play the first round, they're like, done, got it, no big deal. Final thoughts. If you like puzzle games, if you like this puzzly thing of like tokens on cards, and if that really is the bee's knees, cat's meow for you, then I strongly recommend you look for this game. Now, granted, this is from Singapore, so shipping might be a little bit hard, like if you're in Canada or you're in Europe. I do believe Origame is trying to make it to Essen this year, so if you're in Europe, hey, good for you. Like, I think this is a great game. Great game if you love puzzly stuff. I think it's better than Cascadia. There, I said it. Drop the Merlion. Boom! I really enjoy this game. I think it's definitely worth your while, definitely worth the investment, and I definitely recommend it. It's also quite small, fits into your backpack, and it's great for a nice little thinky filler before like a big, heavier game for that night. But I think it's more than enough to have as the main event. I like to play this game sometimes in the morning with my wife, or we might wake up, have a slice of cake, have a cup of coffee, and just play a nice, calm game of this, and we can grok on to something else later on in the day. But overall, I think this game is a real winner, and I give it the cardboardiest approval. And I definitely think it is the best game from game out there. I don't know what it is about their big box games like Mooncake Master. I've also really enjoyed Walk and Roll. I think it's really good, and they're all these same size. I think their big box games are definitely worth it. Rainforest City is easily, I think, their best. Once again, guys, my name is Jay. I play Asian board games to share all that I find with you. If you want to see this channel grow, please consider joining our year-long Patreon campaign, and you can see all our producers moving up here. I do apologize that it's taken a while for me to get some content out. It's been a crazy month for me personally. Lots of big life changes going on, so glad that's done with. Knock on wood. All right, guys, I'll see you next week.